Japan Speak.
The planet Earth is a treasure house of natural and cultural wonders. This legacy is not something that belongs only to the country where it is located. It is also shared by people living in distant lands as part of mankind's irreplaceable global heritage. We are surrounded by gifts inherited from the past. As trustees of these gifts, it is our duty to make sure they are passed on to the future. But all over the world, this precious legacy is under threat from development, war, and natural disasters. Protecting our heritage demands a preservation effort that respects regional or national traditions and pride, and activities that match the conditions in each country. The heritage we must protect is spread throughout the world and takes many shapes and forms. It includes magnificent human achievements and the unique beauty of nature. This is Kamakura, a city not far from Tokyo. In 1192, the government of that time established a capital here that came to rank alongside Kyoto in the history of Japan. Even now, 800 years later, people live and work amid this great cultural legacy. Our heritage can be broadly categorized as either tangible, historic remains, natural scenery and paintings, or intangible, including oral traditions and music. In 1989, the Japanese Foreign Ministry established the UNESCO Japanese Trust Fund for the preservation of the world cultural heritage. By 1996, Japan had contributed well over $20 million to the trust fund. The UNESCO World Heritage List is justly famous. It stimulates fresh interest in the natural and cultural riches that surround us daily and encourages us to reappraise our local heritage from a global perspective. Japan's viewpoint is that we all share this global heritage and offers support to ensure that this legacy is passed on to future generations. This is the Freer Gallery of Art in Washington. On display here are paintings that have been restored in Japan. Among all the Japanese paintings around the world are many that urgently require restoration. The passage of time and differences in climate can cause discoloration, distortions, and cracking. In 1991, the Cooperative Committee for the Preservation and Restoration of Ancient Japanese Art Overseas was established. This is chaired by the director of the Cultural Affairs Agency and receives guidance from a panel of experts. Various groups, including the Tokyo National Research Institute of Cultural Properties, were given the task of restoring ancient Japanese art in the possession of museums overseas. The restoration of items at the Freer Gallery of Art was their first project. This 14th century painting depicts Buddhist saints. It came back to Japan after an absence of some 100 years and was given a fresh lease on life by Japanese restoration specialists.
Without this aid from the Japanese government, this kind of project would not have been possible. It would have taken us nearly 20 to 25 years to accomplish the same thing. So we're extremely grateful for the aid we've received.
The Republic of Guatemala in Central America contains a historical site that Japanese have helped to preserve. Kaminalfuyu is the site of the largest city in the south of the region where the Mayan civilization once thrived. In February 1991, to mark the 500th anniversary of Columbus reaching the New World, a Japanese corporation conducted an academic survey. The survey area extended from the central highlands of Guatemala to the Pacific Ocean. Both Japanese and Guatemalan researchers took part, and computer graphics were produced based on their findings. Meanwhile, in the jungle of northern Guatemala is the site of Tikal, which is referred to as the Mayan capital. Another Japanese enterprise helped in the restoration of this site, too. The chief executive of that enterprise heard that the stairs of the pyramid-shaped temples had been eroded by rain and were in need of immediate repair. In 1991, he donated $20,000 for that purpose. He later retired, but still gathers donations from the public to support the preservation and restoration of Tikal. Cambodia is a country recovering from a period of hardship. In May 1993, a general election was held there under the supervision of the United Nations representative Yasushi Akashi, the head of the transitional authority there. Now, Cambodia is moving ahead with national reconstruction, getting back on its feet. And the people there are working hard to preserve its ancient monuments. In January 1997, Japan's Prime Minister, Ryutaro Hashimoto, toured the countries and regions of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. In a speech in Singapore, he said Japan would continue with active contribution toward the preservation and restoration of the world's cultural heritage, emphasizing the importance of maintaining each country's uniqueness. Angkor Wat is Cambodia's proud symbol of tradition, and Japan is now supporting its reconstruction through such means as the UNESCO Japanese Trust Fund for the Preservation of the World Cultural Heritage. The Angkor monuments are situated in a peaceful location within a dense forest. Angkor is one of the sites registered on the UNESCO World Heritage List. Since the year 802, when King Jayavarman II founded the Angkor Kingdom as the King of Khmer Kings, Cambodians have looked to Angkor as a promise of eternal royal authority. At its peak, the Angkor period capital had a population of 200,000, but war within Cambodia and with neighboring countries took their toll. The city was wiped out. These structures and relief carvings retain their original brilliance and captivate visitors. But many structures within Angkor are now in danger of collapse. The forces of erosion include years of exposure to rain and wind, and the power of the forest itself. This wall was crushed by a massive 500-year-old tree. The civil war of recent years caused further damage. Structures were left to crumble and subside. In the city of Siem Reap is the Angkor Monument Preservation Office, which belongs to the Ministry of Culture and Fine Arts. This office oversees 270 sites within Siem Reap province. The office is doing its best to restore and preserve items, but there is a limit to what the Cambodian government alone can afford.
I've seen the restoration efforts of various countries, but Japan has the most advanced technology. They not only carry out restoration work, but also give Cambodians technical instruction so that we can conduct restoration on our own in the future.
This is Lake Tonle Sap, located to the south and southeast of the Angkor site. In In the Angkor period, this lake was crucial to the farming and fishing industries. It continues to offer Cambodians abundant harvests and nurtures their peace of mind. Even the terror and chaos of the war years failed to rob Cambodians of their spirit. Nowadays, Cambodia is striving for cultural revival, and Angkor is a pillar of that Cambodian spirit. Countries all over the world are working hard on behalf of the Angkor monuments. In November 1994, the Japanese Foreign Ministry established JSA, the Japanese government team for safeguarding Angkor, to conduct restoration work. The team leader is Professor Takeshi Nakagawa of Waseda University. JSA members include specialists from various fields, including architecture, archaeology, art history, and lithology. For the restoration work, the team receives technical support from the Japanese private sector, including construction companies. It's 7:30 in the morning. A JSA team heads to the Bayon Northern Library within Angkor Thom. This is the present focus of the restoration work. The south gate of Angkor Thom. A little further through the forest, and there is Bayon. Bayon was built as a symbol of the mountains where the gods dwell, the center of the world in Mahayana Buddhism. The Angkor ruins are often referred to as the Greece of Southeast Asia. There are 62 sites around the city of Siem Reap alone. Angkor Thom means the great royal capital, and it certainly would have been an impressive city. Each side is about 2 miles long. Bayon is the main temple at the heart of Angkor Thom. The Japanese government team is presently restoring Bayon's Northern Library. Bayon includes numerous groups of 4-faced pagodas that bear what are thought to be faces of the goddess of mercy. It is a structure of special importance in global architectural history. So far, 170 faces have been found. But this is among the most threatened of all the Angkor monuments. The southern and northern libraries are extremely challenging. The foundation has crumbled, and basic repairs failed to prevent further deterioration. The northern library is in especially poor condition. In addition to a crumbling foundation, part of the roof has collapsed. In the current project, the JSA restoration work started with this northern library. They decided to remove the stone blocks and then rebuild the library using the same blocks. Restoring the roof is a challenge that will be addressed later. The team members are currently examining the stone blocks one by one to gather basic information. Eventually, the whole of the Bayon complex will have to be restored and preserved, and that requires a precise analysis of the original design and construction methods. First, the team must get a good idea of the geological foundation and architectural structure.
Japan is extending cultural cooperation as an Asian friend. Through this assistance in restoring the Angkor ruins, the aim is to help restore Cambodia itself. But when it comes down to what's best for Cambodia, then we cannot simply fix everything ourselves. It is essential for us to consider how this country and Cambodians themselves can go about restoring the Angkor ruins. And we have to think what we can do to achieve that purpose.
The foreman, Sao Som, is in charge of the 100 or so Cambodians who work here. He's Professor Nakagawa's right-hand man. Even when work's over, Sao Som chooses not to go back to his village and family. he has opted instead to live in a superintendent's hut close to the site so that he can keep watch over it. His lunch break is the only time he spends with his children. His eldest daughter and son, Pao and Swahie, also work at the site, administered by the Japanese government team. Preah Khan was built in the 12th century by King Jayavarman VII as a family temple dedicated to his father. Sao started working at this temple at the age of 18. However, when the Khmer Rouge came to power, preservation and restoration work was banned, and Sao Sam had no choice but to quit his job. The Khmer Rouge were ousted 3.5 years later. In spite of the dangers of hidden landmines, Sao Sam and some friends literally beat a path back to the temple.
I went to Preah Khan as soon as the Khmer Rouge were ousted because I loved the ancient ruins. They are a cultural legacy. The Angkor monuments are the cultural heritage of Cambodia. They were built by generations of our ancestors, and I want them to be left in good shape.
Another key focus of the JSA Preservation and Restoration Project is Prasat Su Phra and the Royal Terrace. Prasat Su Phra refers to the 12 towers in the Royal Plaza. Because of subsidence and the deterioration of masonry, it is in a critical condition, on the brink of complete collapse. It is thought that the 12 towers and the Royal Terrace provided a setting for ceremonies. The Japanese government team decided to dismantle a portion of Prasat Su Phra as well. The JSA staff are studying the structure and form of the terrace, secrets that are now buried underground. Due to repeated modifications in later years, the base of the terrace is no longer clear. Now, the details of those changes are being revealed.
Here, the king would have received victorious soldiers or reviewed the Elephant Brigade. In modern times, too, traditional harvest festivals were observed here. We have learned that this was a very important space. We want to restore it as a location for intangible and other cultural events to achieve a true revival of Angkor. That is what we are hoping for.
The Japanese government team for safeguarding Angkor cooperates in technical exchange and research with institutions representing the other countries that are involved in restoring Angkor monuments. Together, they are striving for openness in international cooperation. A French institute, l'École Française d'Extrême-Orient, was a world pioneer in preserving and restoring the Angkor monuments. They began work here early in the century. These days, they are involved in the restoration of Bapuon, a 3-tiered pyramid-shaped temple.
We are very interested in the JSA activities. We have been cooperating closely with JSA, and the challenges facing us both are much the same. JSA is restoring Bayon. That is also a large site, and we are interested in their survey methods.
The World Monument Fund, headquartered in New York, is also involved in restoration activities. This group is currently conducting an archaeological survey of Preah Khan, and at the same time training Cambodian restoration technicians. They are funded entirely by donations from the general public. Since 1994, student volunteers from Japan have also been taking part in the restoration work. The Cambodian staff have made personal gains through taking part in the project, supervised by the Japanese government team. They take pride in their work, and they've gained confidence in their own abilities. In preservation and restoration, expert technicians are required to carry out surveys and site work. This work can now be done by some of the people who came from nearby villages as day laborers. They play a full role in everyday activities at the JSA site. JSA trains the people working on site throughout the year, and those efforts are now beginning to bear fruit.
My name is Set Krem.
I'm Bon Sam.
I'm Sam Peng. Our work involves sticking together pieces of excavated earthenware. We learn a lot from our teachers from Japan.
My name is Che Chang. I'm 30 years old. I'm learning surveying technology here with JSA. I measure height and location and keep records.
Sao Som, the foreman, is keen for his children to understand the significance of the work here.
There are many people all over the world that want to see this site. This is our duty. We love our country, so we must build it well.
The growing expertise of the on-site Cambodians is also evident in projects of other Japanese private sector organizations and other countries. Cambodians themselves will soon take the lead in restoring Angkor. Cambodians are even undergoing training in Japan, in the ancient capital, Nara. Japan is working hard to foster Cambodian researchers. These three people, Chan Kanya, Keo Kinao, and Chun Nak, are graduates of the Royal University of Fine Arts in Phnom Penh. They have been accepted for training at the Nara National Research Institute of Cultural Properties, which is under Japan's Cultural Affairs Agency. Intellectuals were oppressed when the Khmer Rouge were in power. Many died, and now there is a shortage of the sort of people who can administer preservation and restoration. The trainees dream of the day when they themselves can restore not only the Angkor monuments, but also Cambodian pride.
I intend to adopt all the techniques I've learned in Japan when I get home. I'll use them to contribute to the restoration of my country.
I'll take the latest restoration techniques home from Japan, and I intend to put them to use in restoring sites in Cambodia.
I want to become an archaeologist and to take care of my nation's heritage at Angkor.
Under the Khmer Rouge, most dancers and dance instructors were executed. It seemed as if classical Khmer dance had been lost forever. But former royal dancers did survive, and now they are reviving dance techniques by teaching young girls. These girls are the future of this cultural legacy. With the coming of the new year, JSA organized a small celebration. The people who best understand the unique traditions and culture of Cambodia and who can best explain it to the world are Cambodians themselves. Serving the cause of our shared heritage entails working in close cooperation with people in each country and enabling them to restore their own sites. Everyone here feels a powerful commitment to Angkor. The spirit of Cambodia is nourished by the natural bounty of Lake Tonle Sap and the Mekong River, running through the center of the nation. And now, the restoration of Angkor is contributing to the nation's cultural rebirth. All over the world, we are surrounded by our shared heritage, a gift from the past, a precious legacy entrusted to us by the future. We invite your comments and questions. Please contact JCIC by mail or internet.